This is the Sprint 3 video for CrowdCheer, and this is Leesha. Um, where we ended Sprint 2, I had made some UI changes and basically hooked up all of the architecture and the data that I had set up for tracking a runner to the UI and set this view up here, which was pretty similar to the one we had in the previous UI. And I wanted to test that, so I started testing at the end of the last sprint and into the sprint mostly. Just trying to figure out, are we giving spectators at a race enough information to identify a runner just in time, so at the right time and at the right location, so that they can cheer in time. So this was kind of this is just a picture from one of the tests. So what we did was we tried to wait for crowds to come out during passing periods at the university. So when there were lots of people walking up one of the main channels at Northwestern on Sheridan Road, so we had the spectators stand there with information, and then I had somebody from the lab walk up, blending into the crowd, and try to figure out if our spectator could identify that person and cheer for them in time. And also just trying to understand where exactly they were identifying people. So we learned some pretty useful information from the test. I think the biggest things were that the tracking information after about 50 meters, which in this picture, I don't know if you could see, but would probably be like by this lamppost over here. But the tracking information and just the location information becomes very inaccurate after that point, which is a critical point for identifying a runner. So that was actually misleading in a lot of the cases that failed where somebody was unable to identify the runner. So as you can see here, in the view of the map, it shows that the runner is right by you, and it says that they're 6.36 meters away, but in reality, when we took this screenshot, the runner had already passed. So that can be really misleading, and a lot of people were confused by that. We tested with, I believe, 6 people. Let me double check that. 8 people, actually. And we had 4 failed test cases and 4 successful ones. And what was interesting was that the 4 failed ones happened for pretty much the same reason. If they couldn't identify the person after the 50-meter mark, or before the 50-meter mark, they were relying on a map that was inaccurate, and were guessing that the runner was in a place that they actually weren't. So that was actually really helpful information, because my hypothesis after that was that the map is not really helpful after 50 meters, or there must be some better way that we could represent the runner's location and get the user to look up from the map and actually look into the running course and identify the runner. Another piece of feedback that was pretty expected was that the picture that we provided, it's just a head-up picture, just like a profile picture. So it isn't necessarily helpful in terms of identifying a runner from far away, because you're not going to be able to see their face. Something that would be more helpful, a lot of people requested some type of description of the runner's outfit. So I considered those changes and then made some updates to the UI, which are here, and this is what I spent most of the sprint doing. So basically there's this larger map view where you can see the runner approaching up into a certain point, and then you also get a little bit of a picture preview, so you have a little bit of an idea of what they look like. And then after, I believe I set it to around 75 meters, I switch off from the map view to this view, and then display banners to the spectator to prompt them to do certain actions, and really just kind of like look away from the phone and use the picture to identify the runner and just look up. So and then on the cheer screen, they get a vibration so that if they aren't looking up already, they know to cheer. But yeah, those are the kind of changes that I made. And then I also added a description of the outfit, which helped a lot. I tested this again, and the tests went really well so far. We had a lot of testers not show up, so I don't know if it's significant data necessarily, but of the 3 tests, they were all very successful, and the new way that we're displaying information was more helpful to the users. I do think it's worth testing a little bit more, and I also really want to see whether, now that I'm much more confident that this system will work to identify a runner or at least identify somebody in a crowd that's walking by. I want to be able to test it in actual race conditions, which have a lot more variability, I guess, in terms of the runner moving by you much more quickly than someone walking. Um, and oftentimes at actual races, there is a problem with signal and location data collection. So I think testing it at an actual race would be a great next step. Another thing that I did was just laid out the different milestones for this project. I really wanted to understand what the contributions that I want to make are and what I want to do to answer my original research questions. And then once I had the entire milestone map sort of laid out, what are the highest priority items or the ones that are most interesting to me that I think that I should prioritize. So I went ahead and did that. So right now, or in this past sprint, it was making sure that the tracking part of the app is set up in a way that you can cheer just in time. And I think the next important part is really going to be once we can confirm that this stuff will work at a race. I think for me, the next most exciting part, and in terms of the research question, will be can we get people to cheer at the pain points that runners actually have and resolve that original problem of the project? So I have a couple of different ideas on how to do that, but we'll talk about that in the next sprint. All right, thanks.